Hi, my name's Karen Mullins, and I'm a DOM. I'm not an MD, but I do have some information that I'd like to share, really just due to my experience, which forced me to go down some rabbit holes in research on laryngomalacia, which is a condition that my baby was born with. I'm an alternative practitioner. And yeah, I just wanted to share some things that I found helpful, um, on my journey with my baby with this condition because it's a really, really scary condition to navigate with a newborn. My baby was 2 weeks old, probably a week and a half old when I started noticing symptoms. His breathing wasn't quite right, and it terrified me. So we took him in, and he got diagnosed at 3 weeks old. So there's just some things that I found that might be helpful for others. There wasn't a whole lot out there on this that I could find, and so I just wanted to offer it. Um, my baby was prescribed antacids immediately by the ENT that diagnosed him, omeprazole. And I was not okay with my 3-week-old baby taking omeprazole. So for those who aren't aware, omeprazole is an antacid that a lot of adults are on. It's very effective. But omeprazole comes with a lot of side effects. It inhibits calcium absorption, it inhibits mineral absorption, it inhibits vitamin B12 absorption, it inhibits iron absorption. So that's just scratching the surface. But it also makes your baby much more prone to gut infections, to GI infections, things like C. diff or, any type of gut infection, really, or even dysbiosis, like an overgrowth of the bad bacteria. I think the biggest side effect that I was concerned about, the one that I find the most concerning with antacids is the rebound effect. So, anybody that goes on them, the baby included, if they're on it for any significant amount of time, once they stop taking it, the rebound effect causes it to come back basically with a vengeance. And that's just not a good situation for a baby. There's videos of babies online where when they tried to take the baby off, they couldn't because the rebound effect was so bad, and that it worsened the condition exponentially. And it just breaks my heart that, when to see a baby going through that. Um, Hence why I wanted to make this video. So, Boston Children's Hospital did a study. I'm going to share my screen and share some information with you. So, this is this is just a summary. I'll show you the actual research paper, but this is the summary. Thickened feeds, not acid suppression medications, help treat laryngo in infants. Um, So in this study, they studied this case study was with 236 infants diagnosed with laryngo at Boston Children's in 2017. So this is relatively new research. I actually brought this paper into my pediatrician and to the ENT, sharing with them that thickened feeds are, according to the study, more effective than acid suppression. Now, thickened feeds can be relatively controversial the younger the baby is. My baby was very young when we started thickening his feed, and he did okay. We just started very small with cereal, and I'll get into that in a bit, but I want to share this study and this information first. In summary, our findings suggest that there is significant potential for improving the care of babies with laryngo by limiting acid suppression and considering thickened feeds. Um, so let me show you the actual study. I can find it here. Here it is. So this is the actual study. of that Laryngo. Um, I'll just go over their conclusion. Acid suppression does not reduce the frequency of the surgery related to hospitalizations compared with untreated subjects. Patients treated with thickening feeds have decreased hospitalizations and longer time to surgery, suggesting that thickening of feeds may be a preferred intervention over acid suppression. Um, so if you're interested in this study, it's in the Journal of Pediatrics. I'll provide a link of that in the description. This is from 2021 that this just got published in the Journal of Pediatrics. Boston's Children's Hospital is one of the best in the country for sure. So that there's this study. Um, Thickened feeds keep the acid suppression down. And I even yes, I do believe that babies with laryngo might be experiencing a little bit of acid reflux. But per the diagnosis, there's no way to sort of prove that. It's based on symptoms and it's also based on the scope that they do, the scope that they did of my baby. It was out of focus here. It was red and irritated. And I have to wonder if that irritation is not just from, why am I all blurry here? I don't know what happened. I think that there's probably a number, there we go, number of reasons as to why this area could be a little bit inflamed. And yes, acid suppression is one of them, and that might come along with it. But the thickened feeds do a fabulous job of keeping that acid down, and with no side effects. Now, I would say that what I'm suggesting would for sure pertain to cases of laryngo that fall on the scale of more mild to moderate. My baby had a more mild to moderate case of laryngo, although it could be arguable that even babies with severe cases might benefit more from thickened feeds. Now, we always have to do what's best for our babies. There are some babies out there that have severe cases that are, surgery is on the horizon and they're in pain and it's scary and it could be dangerous to not cover all your bases as fully as possible. Laryngo is, I don't wish it on any mother or baby. Um, I mean, what could be more terrifying than not knowing if your baby is breathing okay? My pediatrician looked at me and said, "Well, if your baby starts turning blue, bring him in." And wow, that just didn't sit well with me. Yeah, if my baby turns blue, we're in a real situation. So I digress. There are no side effects with thickened feeds. It's absolutely at least worth a shot. The older your baby gets, the more thickened you can make the feeds, the formula. I was unfortunate in the sense that I did not produce enough milk naturally to feed my baby, so I had to move on to formula rather quickly. I could heat the formula up. To attempt to dissolve, we used oatmeal. I highly suggest using oatmeal for thickening feeds. There is a pre-thickened formula with rice on the market by a brand called, I think it's pronounced Similac. No, I did not go that route. I don't care for the ingredients in Similac. However, between the two, if you're going to consider either, thickened feeds versus, a pre-thickened formula versus antacids, I would say the pre-thickened formula with rice by Similac is probably a better option than antacids because it's just easy. As you know, you're not supposed to heat up breast milk, you know, without it damages it if you heat it up to a certain temperature. Um, I personally would rather risk damaging breast milk just a little bit and improving it with the thickened feeds rather than not. Um, it's always, that cost benefit thing. Um, so what I did is I bought the cereal, the thickened, ground oatmeal cereal. They sell it in all the stores. I can't remember the name of the brand at this moment, but it's organic. It's like $5 for um, a big box of it that lasts quite a while. If your baby's very little, you could start with thickening with just, a quarter of a teaspoon or half a teaspoon. We quickly moved up to a tablespoon. It was fine. You do have to remember to um, be aware of the nipple size if you're doing thickened feeds. It has to be in that sweet spot of the nipple not being so big that the oatmeal, just gushes out and chokes them. But then the nipple has to be big enough for the oatmeal to actually come through. So we found that number two nipples worked well for a long time for my baby. And then, we still thicken bottles with the oatmeal. We've moved up to the number three nipples. I will say my baby, we were extremely lucky that my baby did grow out of Laryngo by month 4 or 5. Um, yeah, month 4 or 5. So we don't really deal with it. Sometimes I might hear a residual something in there, but it's nothing like it was. My baby couldn't sleep on his back. He had to sleep on his side from the time he was 2, 3 weeks old. We had to keep all the cribs at almost a 40-degree angle while he slept. There were many nights where I was just so scared that I pretty much didn't sleep. I would sit with him in my rocking chair at an angle, and I was in kind of that twilight, like half asleep, half awake state in the chair all night long because I found that he could breathe the best without struggle, without risk, with sitting upright on me. And I really don't think I slept for probably 2 or 3 months. I was losing my mind. And I was just terrified. So that's when I went down the rabbit hole and I found that thickened feeds really are such a much safer option. The other option that a lot of people are looking into is this product. Whoops. Oh, come on. How do I get out of here? This product called Gel Mix, which I wanted to touch on. I do not recommend this product. There's a lot of moms online using this product for Laryngo. I don't want to shame any of these women, we're all just doing our best. But I wanted to offer my opinion on this product, and I'm sorry, I'm just getting over a cold, and so my voice is struggling a little bit. This gel mix thickener, I don't approve of these ingredients. The number one ingredient is maltodextrin, which is a starch. Um, and then there's all these gums in it. Let's see if it lists the ingredients here somewhere. Side effects. Well, the side effects are gassiness and loose stools. Those are the side effects because of what it is, because it's maltodextrin and some gums. Where the heck are the ingredients listed? Thickened feed. I know it says because I was looking on here, but I already know what the ingredients are compared to rice cereal. Cannot be used with breast milk. It displaces the natural diet significantly. Rice cereal never worked with thickened breast milk because the starch breaks down the enzymes in the breast milk, thinning it out and making it ineffective. Though rice cereal does thicken formula, it displaces the natural diet of fats and proteins significantly with starch. I think that's all debatable. I think it's marketing hype, if you want my opinion. I would not give my baby maltodextrin or these gums that they thicken it with. Why can't I find the ingredients? This is crazy. I saw it a little while ago when I was looking at this. Um, oh, here it is. Okay, right here. Sorry. Maltodextrin, carabine gum. Yeah, it's free of gluten, dairy, wheat, all those things, which is good. But let me tell you about maltodextrin. I wrote a blog. I own a company. I have an online platform. I have an e-commerce. I'm a practitioner, so I have a thriving e-commerce business. I write blogs. I'm a supplement geek. I'm an ingredient geek, right? So I wanted to share um, the I wanted to share the blog that I wrote years ago. It's called Maltodextrin, Is It Good or Bad? Now, maltodextrin can be made with different things. It can be made with, um, it's usually made from corn because that's dirt cheap. You definitely wouldn't want that. They're saying that theirs is derived of tapioca. Okay. It can be derived from rice or potatoes also. Um, the biggest problem with maltodextrin is the glycemic index. I mean, talk about putting your baby at risk for, diabetes or being pre-diabetic. The glycemic index of maltodextrin is 130. Sugar is 65, if that tells you anything. It's double the amount of sugar. This just totally rocks your baby's blood sugar. Um, it's that's just not good. There's and that's just there's more where it comes to maltodextrin. It is very, very quickly absorbed, right? So the problem with things that are absorbed so quickly is that then you're at risk of dehydration. And that's why loose stools are a side effect because it goes through the system so fast, so quickly. Um, this doctor, Christine McDonald, she's a PhD researcher in Cleveland's Pathobiology Institute. She has done a lot of work. A lot of her research has revolved around maltodextrin. She studied it very extensively. And she believes that it causes inflammatory responses in anybody that takes it, including babies. Her work is really interesting if you want to look it up. It's her work is actually linked down here in the blog that I wrote. Um, so yeah, this just her work tells us that it's not good. And lastly, it increases the amount of bacteria on the surface of the mucosal lining. So what does that mean? That means you're increasing the pathogenic load in the gut, even in babies. So it's decreasing that antibacterial defense mechanism. And it's creating the perfect environment for gut infections. Particularly salmonella is associated with the high ingestion of maltodextrin, but it's not limited to salmonella. It's all the stuff. So E. coli, C. diff, salmonella, all of it. It's a dangerous combination if you're putting your baby on antacids, which also greatly increase your baby's risk of a gut infection. And then you pair it with this gel mix stuff, and you're really kind of obliterating their little microbiomes and making them very susceptible to a gut infection. So I would really I would really hesitate before I bought this gel mix stuff. And so I mentioned this. It has a very low osmolality. It doesn't absorb much water, so yeah, so it's going to increase that risk of dehydration and diarrhea and loose stools and gassiness, which is why those are the side effects listed on this gel mix stuff. Not to mention this gel mix stuff is it's like $30 for a little canister, which is absolutely ridiculous. The profit they're making on that is just insane because maltodextrin is dirt cheap. Dirt cheap. If you're buying those $5 boxes of cereal, that they're going to last you a month, or it depends on how much your baby's eating, of course. But if you're using this gel mixed up, I know moms that have said that they need 2 or 3 canisters a month. So you're spending $100 on this stuff a month, on the gel mix, on maltodextrin a month. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. If you were going to go this route, don't buy this product. Just go buy maltodextrin in bulk made with tapioca or one of these gums, which are also, they have their own problems. I'm not even going to go down the rabbit hole of the gums. You just don't need this product. So that's really about what I have to share. You're welcome to read this blog on maltodextrin, and please look into that. I'm going to link all this in the description. But Boston's Children's is really doing some great work where it comes to Laryngo. They have some of the newest research out there on it, and this paper is certainly worth reading and looking into. But the summary of this research is that thickened feeds are actually more effective. The babies that did the thickened feeds were less likely to need surgery, and they were less likely to be hospitalized. And if they did need surgery, they were able to postpone the surgery for a lot longer, which is a big deal when you're thinking about surgery for a newborn or an infant. Surgery for a 2 week old or a 3 week old is much, much riskier than a baby that's 2 or 3 months old, or even, 6 or 8 or 9 months old, under a year. The risk of those surgeries goes way, way down the older your baby. So even if you can punt the surgery further with thickened feeds, that's huge. But a lot of babies grow out, the majority of babies grow out of the condition by the time they're 4 or 5 months old. My baby did. We were very lucky and blessed. I know some babies don't. But, doctors, Big Pharma just wants you to buy omeprazole or some antacid. I got a prescription from my doctor for the omeprazole, and the script was more expensive than the over-the-counter omeprazole. I mean, yes, the babies have to take the liquid version, but you can buy omeprazole for almost nothing over the counter, not liquid, but pills. And then the script that I got was, I don't remember how much it was because we didn't fill it, but I remember at the time being like, are you kidding me? I think it was over $100, but this is just big pharma. They want to push drugs, and your doctor is all about drugs. I hate to say, but your doctor probably has the best intentions, but most doctors just don't have any qualms about putting babies on, or anybody on drugs, but babies on drugs where the side effects are not worth it. It's once again that cost benefit thing. In my opinion, the cost of putting your baby on heavy duty antacid at such a vulnerable, precious time, a newborn, they're just coming into this world. Their microbiomes are very, very fragile at this time. They're still developing. They're not even developed, and you want to throw them on an acid, making them at risk of not absorbing all these nutrients that they need for brain development, for growth in general, and then putting them at risk of a GI infection, which is going to mean antibiotics if they do get the gut infections. It's just not worth it. If you can do thickened feeds, I think it's a much better option. So this is just all I had to offer. I hope that this, maybe if it helps any moms out there that are trying to navigate this horrific condition with their precious little baby. My heart goes out to you. I was there. Um, wouldn't wish it on any mom, but you do get through. And if you have any questions, I will put my email and in the description as well. Um, Please reach out. I'm happy to, or leave a comment, and I will respond. I will reply. I'd like to be available to any moms going through this with any questions of how I handled or navigated thickened feeds. So that's it. I hope in some way that this helped, and wishing you all the best out there.